Hi, I'm the hair mentor, Valerie Bauman, and today we're going to discuss employee versus self employment, the truth about money, taxes, and freedom. If you're a cosmetology student trying to figure out where to start, and if you're a stylist building clientele and looking for the right salon home, or if you're a seasoned stylist chasing more freedom, more money, and more control, I will say this is a big decision because it's going to shape your entire career. And today I'm breaking it down from real experience, real numbers, and what actually happens behind the chair, not just what sounds good on social media. Let's talk about if you're an employee. You find a salon owner who has W 2 employees. You can be either hourly or you can be commission. Generally, hourly is an entry level position. So possibly you're in maybe an apprenticeship or you're just starting out and hourly is generally the best option for that. If you're graduating from cosmetology school, this actually is what I would suggest just because you're not going to be busy all the time. So if you go to a commission wage and you're not booked all the time, that can seriously affect you. But if you stay hourly, you're still going to be able to get that routine, that kind of you can count on paycheck, that same amount of money every time you get paid. So if you are a new hairstylist and you choose hourly, that is where you can kind of really just work on building your confidence and your speed and your clientele. If you decide to go commission, that's more like if you're trying to scale your income and really grow a career because you've established clients at this point and you can negotiate a wage that's really going to shape your career and possibly change your life. Once established with an employer, you're earning commission plus tips plus PTO and possibly benefits such as retirement or health insurance. But the biggest advantage is you have zero business responsibility. You can come in, show up, create, do great hair, grow your clientele, and go home. And that's pretty nice. A salon covers payroll taxes, liability insurance, workers' comp, unemployment, inventory, tools, and operations. So that's so nice. And let's get into the tax part of it. So for federal income tax for a W 2 employee, the total percentage is 12.4%, but your employer is going to pay half of that, 6.2% to be precise. You will pay the other 6.2%. I'm not an accountant, so always speak with your accountant about taxes before making any big decisions. So yes, so you pay 6.2% in federal tax, and then plus whatever your state percentage is for tax is also added to that. Your employer, though, is covering half of your federal taxes, and that's a huge break. Deduction wise, you still get to write off education, tools, phone, travel, your tips. And I know that they increased deductions. I believe it used to be, and I'm not for sure, and I didn't look this up, but I think it used to be 700 and now you can claim up to 1700 in deductions as an employee. For tip wise, you can claim up to $26,000 in tips, and that will lower your income totally. So, but prior, tips were considered part of your income. So, if you're wanting to buy a home or get a car and you need to have that higher income to get a loan, I would recommend probably not claiming your tips that season just so you can get financing. But then after that, you can write off your tips and you might get a bigger tax return. Also, I want to kind of talk about real experience, and I go back to when I was a booth runner, and this was way back when, but it was a season, it was a time that I did not make the thousands of dollars that my employees make now. My employees make probably $15,000 more than I ever made as a booth runner, and climbing. Part of that you could say was I didn't charge enough. But for the season that it was, For the era that it was and for the county or the community that I lived in, the pricing was considered high. However, now prices have increased, and I feel like that we're finally valued for our talent and our art and our skill. So that does make a difference when comparing. But when I think about it, I think about, my goodness, these girls make like if I really go down and think about, like $17,000 more than I ever made. 17,000 more. I mean, it's incredible. And I'm not going to toss out what my employees make. I feel like that's kind of a private conversation, but they make more than I made, and they make a substantial amount more. So as far as that's concerned, being an employee, in my personal opinion, is so comfortable. Your taxes are paid, your supplies are bought and kept, and you just get to come and have fun. And when you leave work, you're done for the day. You don't have to continuously work at home too, because when and we'll get into that, but when you're self-employed, you're still working at home. I mean, that's what I'm doing. So I would say that being an employee is really comfortable and is a really, really nice option. Really nice option. Something I want to talk about too is benefits. I think that we don't consider benefits as hairstylists because probably 80% of our industry, listen to me, I'm just making that up. 80% of our industry, honestly, I don't know. But you know what? It feels like the majority of our industry is self-employed, and we don't talk or think about benefits enough. First thing I want to talk about is retirement. I mean, I never had retirement, never started retirement. I got girls 20 years old, 18 years old, 19 years old coming out of cosmetology school, and they're setting aside 7% of their income for retirement. These girls are going to be set. They're going to be set. They're not going to be slinging hair at 80 years old, 70 years old. These girls are set. Now, I'm not saying you can't be responsible, self-employed worker, and go hook up with someone who can do investments for you, but how comfortable is that? How comfortable is that to work for an employer and do a Roth IRA or a 401k? The other thing I want to talk about is PTO. I mean, you're self-employed. If you want to take time off, if you're sick, if you want to go on vacation, you don't get paid. You're not getting paid. And then you are an employee, you get PTO, you can go on vacation, you can do so many things and still get a paycheck. Or let's say you are sick, you had a terrible sick day. Well, you can generally use your PTO for that day, and it's covered. Also, when you work with a team of people for an employer and you're sick, a lot of times the other stylist can take your clients for you. You don't even have to make those up. The stress of trying to find a place to throw your clients into when you're already booked crazy out. Come on, people. You feel me there, right? I mean, stylists, you feel me there. You get sick, or your child's sick, and you have to somehow reschedule your day because you can't come in, but you're booked a whole year out. You're like, I have no place to even put you but come in on an off day. And that sucks. I am very grouchy if I have to come in on an off day. So here's the key takeaway for being an employee. In many cases, booth runners and employees can make the same income or a similar income, but employees just don't carry the higher tax burden, the responsibility, and the financial stress. So they gain PTO, retirement, structure for long-term health. Let's talk about health insurance. Health insurance. I mean, how many hairstylists have health insurance self-employed? I would say I would bet on a few. And you can go work somewhere that actually supplies health insurance. You can take care of your family. You can take care of your kids. I mean, you can take care of yourself. That's a value. That's an absolute value. So I know personally as an employer, I'm only 4 years open as a salon, as a brick and mortar, but I hope to provide health insurance. It is like top of my list when I get this building fully finished as far as salon wise, because we're putting a whole second floor salon. And once I get all those things finished on my building, health insurance is at the top of my list. So let's talk about self employed and if you're commission. And a lot of stylists do kind of go this direction because it's just easier. So you get a higher commission and more freedom because you're a contractor. But here's a bit of a reality: you're getting commission plus tips only. So you don't have any benefits, no PTO, no safety net, and you have higher taxes. Your federal tax is 15.3%. Your employer is not matching it. So you have a higher tax bracket, and it is not being, your employer is not paying half of it. So you have that plus your state income tax, whatever that is. And you have to pay all of your taxes. And some people have to pay quarterly because they make so much. So that's things you have to set up. And you need to get good bookkeeping to keep track of what's coming in, what's coming out, and what your deductions are. Also, that might mean that you have to supply some of the salon product. And if the salon, and that's fine because that's a deduction, but if you don't supply the product and the salon supplies it, you lose the deduction, but you don't have the stress of supplying the product. So that can be a little stressful. If the salon is supplying your product, you're not going to have a whole lot in deductions. So if you're paying the highest tax rate with fewer write-offs, that can make you owe at the end of the year, you know. And I will say this, one salon I worked at, she said you pay for everything and you get 80% commission. And I mean, maybe that would balance a little better because you don't have a booth rent per se. You have control of your products. You have more deductions. I mean, it's just something, the best thing to do is to write it out, pen and paper, compare, track the numbers, figure out what your expenses are and what they will be if you've never done it before, and try to just see what is the best financial avenue for you. So responsibilities that you're going to have as a commission contractor would be possibly booking your own appointments. I would probably say you are booking your own appointments at that point. Marketing yourself, supply awareness, insurance, liability insurance, financial tracking, so some sort of online tracking system to track your deductions and your expenses and your deposits, and then taxes. Something I didn't think about that I should have added in there too is you have to make sure you have separate bank accounts for this stuff too. And your business needs to be its own entity separate from your personal. So I have checked the stat on this, and over 60% of small business owners say that they are not confident in their finances or tax strategy. Financial mismanagement is one of the top reasons small businesses fail within 5 years. That's pretty huge. So if you're going to be a self-employed stylist, please make sure that you are doing quarterly assessments of your own business and making sure that you have a projection of what the next quarter is going to be. You have to set a budget for yourself. I hope that the person you're working for is doing the same. There's a lot of financial responsibility when being self-employed, but also being the business owner. And hopefully you can find a place that is, and hopefully the two work well together. Self-employed booth rental is what we're going to talk about next. And this is a true independent model. You pay rent and everything else is on you. You're your own boss. You handle the color, the retail, supplies, tools, booking, marketing, liability insurance, education, website, systems, taxes, bookkeeping, you name it. You're going to do it all. You are basically a mini small business. I've checked a stat, and 60% of small business owners say that they are not confident in their finances or tax strategy. So there's too much financial mismanagement, and it's one of the top reasons why small businesses fail. So if you're going to be booth rental, my suggestion to you is to do quarterly projections, track your expenses, and figure out what you can do to profit each quarter. Create a projection. Stay smart when it comes to your finances. Don't just spend carelessly without tracking and recording everything and giving yourself a budget. You have to stay with my business. I have a monthly budget. Now, I'm not going to say that I don't get a little carried away and want to just maybe buy something new or buy this or buy that. Ultimately, I have a budget, and I tell my managers, hey, this is maybe, let's say if it's like a slower month, I tell my managers, hey, we're going to keep it what we need for color this month. Or we have a pretty huge retail supply. We're not going to spend as much. It's all kinds of things that you can, and that's a good suggestion too. If money is a little tight, you can kind of cut back a little bit and find areas that you can trim the cost. So that's a good thing too. Taxes are the same if you're a booth rental. They're 15.3% federal, and then whatever your state income tax percentage is. But you can deduct your expenses off of that. It's going to offset it. I have a theory, and it's my own theory, but 50% of what you make goes right back into your business. Deductions are money spent. So if, okay, well, Val, like, I'm a booth runner. I claim every single thing that I spend. I claim as much as I possibly can that offsets my income, and I don't owe as much in taxes. Well, that's great, you know. However, it's still money spent. You're spending the money no matter what. So you have to be really careful in that area, and you can't necessarily claim all your deductions. In some categories, like for example, meals, it's 50%. So I know, like, I'll come in and give my tax person all these deductions, and I'll hand it to my accountant, and then I'm like, okay, it's like $12,000 less. Like, hopefully we get money back this year. And then I get my I get my income taxes back, and it's like $14,000 more than I thought. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because not all my deductions count as deductions. Like, they can only put down like a percentage of what I'm claiming, if that makes sense. So careful in your spending. Careful in your spending, booth runners. Don't think, well, I can claim it. Careful with your spending. Something else I want to talk about is the reality of cash flow. We're talking about spending. We should talk about cash flow. You get cash handed to you daily. For a lot of stylists, it comes in just as fast as it goes. So be smart with your cash. Deposit your cash in your bank account. It's okay. It's okay to be a deposit. And I'll just leave it at that because people know what I'm talking about when I say that. It's okay to deposit your cash. Track it. Track how much is coming in. Track your cash. Create a system where you're really figuring out what your income is, what's coming in, what's going out. Lack of tracking and financial responsibility is why many stylists stay busy and never build real wealth. So nearly 70% of small business owners don't follow a consistent monthly budget. Around 50% of independent workers struggle with inconsistent income year to year. If you're a contractor, your income is inconsistent. It definitely is always going to vary. So smart budgeting is going to carry you in bad months, and it's going to promote you in good months. I talked about this earlier, that generally 50% of what you make goes back into your business. You have to spend about 50% of your income. And I want to say this. When I say that, it's using high quality product. If you're a stylist who's like, "Wow, that's not what I spend," good for you, boo. Good for you. But probably you're getting a lesser quality. I know stylists that got discounts and they used 40 different lines at once because they were going with the cheapest so they would profit the most. You do you, boo. You do you. Me, I like a standard. I pick specific lines to work with and I stay consistent. Mine are usually a higher quality, they are more expensive. I mean, so I could be wrong about the 50% if you're using a cheaper product or cheaper products in general. When you're a booth runner, there is startup cost, and people don't think about that. You're talking, okay, we'll say on the cheap product side, you're talking maybe 4,000 to 5,000 startup. If you use high quality products, I would say probably 7,000 to $10,000 startup if you're doing retail. So prepare for that. If you want to go booth run, you're gonna have to put some thousands down to get your business started. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a reality check. Self-employment stylists work more hours, carry more stress, handle business after hours, and many times don't out earn strong commission employees because they're not factoring in taxes, expenses, time, burnout. So when you add the financial stress and the mental stress and the load you got to carry, my guess is that employees have a lot more peace and maybe a lot more fun. If it was me starting today, I would look for an employer with a strong growth opportunity, a solid commission and hourly structure, retirement options, benefits, because your long-term career matters. If you're going to go self-employment, it's powerful, it's independence, but be smart with it. Track your expenses, your deposits, set quarterly projections. Be smart about your finances. Build systems and know all your numbers. Because the stylist who succeeds long term is not just making money, they are building an empire. Don't operate blindly like most. Operate like a business owner, even if you're just behind the chair. And you're setting yourself up for future, possibly, salon owner. So if you have any questions about self-employment versus employee, please drop them in the comments. I would love to help in any way. And until next time, I'm the Hair Mentor. Create with intention and lead with your God-given purpose. Thank you.